This story starts in Washington, D.C., with 8 friends gathered around a backyard dinner table on a warm summer night. They were celebrating, toasting friendship and family and the new restaurant that one of the women had opened earlier in the week. And everyone was having a good time.
It was kind of one of those great evenings, lots of awesome food and French wine, and it was like a magical night.
Michael Rabdo, the man that you just heard, was there with his wife and his 14-year-old daughter, Kyber. He says it was getting later in the evening, maybe around 10, when it happened.
I was standing beside my wife, and I just saw this arm with a long-barrel gun come between us. It was as if in slow motion, this hand, and then it just got really quiet.
The hand belonged to a man, medium height, in a clean, high-end sweatsuit. He raised the gun and held it first to Michael's friend Christina, and then to the head of Michael's wife.
And then he said, give me your money or I'm going to start effing shooting.
Just kept repeating, give me your money, give me your money.
That's Kyber, Michael's daughter.
He looked anxious, nervous.
Eyes wide.
His tone was very aggressive. I mean, when he said, give me your money or I'm going to start effing shooting, we believed him.
But there was a problem, which is that no one in the party actually had money. It was a fluke thing, but there it was.
What are we going to do? You can't just produce stuff.
So they just started talking, grasping for some way to dissuade the man, and naturally started with guilt.
What would your mother
think of you?
And he said something like, I don't have an effing mother.
The exchange got more and more tense.
It was just fueling the atmosphere of danger.
And Michael remembers thinking, this is headed towards a very bad end.
Someone was going to get hurt, if not all of us. This was it.
But then one of the women at the table, this woman, Christina, pipes up. She has an offer for the man.
Said, we're here celebrating. Why don't you have a glass of wine and sit down?
And it was like a switch. He could feel the difference. It was definitely the right thing to say.
All of a sudden, Michael says, the look on the man's face changed.
And he tasted the wine and just said, damn, that's a really good glass of wine. And we're like, well, I'll have some more. And we poured him some more wine, and we had some cheese there too. And so he reached down for the cheese, and then he put the gun in his pocket, and he sat down.
The man drank his wine, ate his cheese, and then he said something that no one expected. Said it almost to himself.
I think I've come to the wrong place. And we were all like, hey, I understand. These things happen.
For a moment, they all sat there together. The stars overhead twinkling, the sound of chirping insects in the night air.
And then he said something just so strange. He just said, can I get a hug? And my wife hugged him, and our friend hugged him. And then he said, can we have a group hug?
And so everyone got up and formed a circle around the man.
I can't tell you how strange that was, but we all did come around him and hug him, and he said he was sorry, and he walked out with a glass of wine out the gate.
all they could think to do was run into the house and hug and cry, half in fear, half in gratitude and relief.
It was like, this was like a miracle. It was like a miracle.
But was it a miracle? Or is there a better word for what happened that night? Before we start, do you have any questions for me?
No questions.
This is a professor at Michigan State University named Chris Hopwood. Chris spends his life looking at how people interact with each other. Specifically, he looks at something called complementarity. And he does that by videotaping people talking and then studying their exchange in minute detail.
How are people changing from moment to moment? So we actually get a data point every half second during the course of a conversation.
The basic idea of complementarity is that people very naturally mirror each other as they interact. So warmth, 99% of the time, begets warmth. And likewise, hostility begets hostility.
If you and I were competitors and you were sort of nasty to me, my natural response would be to be kind of nasty to you.
Now, breaking this pattern, say being warm when somebody is really nasty, is called non-complementary behavior, and it is really hard to do.
So if I am really nice to you and you're really cold and unfriendly to me, generally speaking, either I'll try to do something to appease you and make you like me so that you'll warm up, or maybe I'll respond with coldness to you because you're being unfriendly to me, or we'll just stop interacting.
But people do manage to sometimes behave in non-complementary ways. And when they do, it often completely shakes up a situation. It happens between people, but also it can happen on a bigger level.
The reason, for example, that we admire people like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. is because they were able to maintain a sort of warmth and integrity in the face of people who were being cruel to them.
The March in Selma, nonviolence in India, offering a man with a gun at your head a glass of French wine. Those aren't miracles. They're examples of non-complementary behavior. So remember those people at the dinner party? Later that evening, after everything had calmed down, they would find this glass neatly placed on the sidewalk by their alley. Not thrown, not carelessly discarded, placed